Today we are talking the best director race for the 2025 Oscars, and let's just kind of get this out in the forefront. This is the category that is giving me the most confusion. I think most of us probably agree that there's three that feel like a lock. Some people may even argue four. Some people might argue this whole category is locked up, and I am kind of not sure on any of it. Like, honestly, at this moment, I have 32 directors slash films that I wanted to talk about today, and that's what we're going to do in this video. Now, this is going to be a little bit unorganized. We just got to kind of get into this because there is a lot to talk about. So let me cut to the tier list. Let's look at the categories today. We have the locks, the next in line, we have the spoilers, we have the International Academy, we have the head down professionals. These are the workhorses of Hollywood, the people who don't need the most attention slash don't seek the spotlight all the time, but they usually put in quality work. We have the too little too late, just they're not campaigning enough, there's not enough push. And then we have maybe my favorite category that I've made, YouTubers, me, say the darndest thing. These are predictions that I might have had earlier on in the year that now I kind of look crazy for having them now that we've seen said films. So we're going to start. And I think it's fair to just kind of start this video with kind of the inception of why I decided to wait to do this video to the end of May, which was let's see two of the bigger blockbusters that are going to be coming out. Let's see their quality. And that's Wicked and Gladiator II, which is what's going to kick off this discussion, because we have Ridley Scott for Gladiator 2 and we have John M. Chu for Wicked. So let's just talk about this, and let's start with Wicked, which we're all kind of just surprised, right? Like how much Wicked has really grown in the past few weeks. I talked about this. I had suggested in October that Ariana Grande would probably give a good performance in Wicked. And I had her at number 12, and people made fun of me for that. I thought she'd be good. I didn't think she'd be maybe number 1 or number 2 in the best supporting actress race. So Wicked has really grown, and it's going to continue growing, I think. Like, I don't think there's going to be much competition for a blockbuster to really knock it out of its place. Like, it feels kind of firmly cemented in this race. But does that mean the director is a lock? And we have to look at the quality of blockbusters we have. We have Ridley Scott. We have Dune Part 2, which will be coming up. Like, there's some big names in here. I think it is safe to say with the hype that Wicked, which was definitely not in the race, is now next in line. I don't think it's a lock by any mean, but I think of that next group of contenders, I think Wicked is right there. And now let's talk about Gladiator 2. And let me make the case that I've been making for Gladiator 2. And I've heard people's comments. You know, the director's branch isn't about giving makeup Oscars. They obviously did for Scorsese with The Departed, but that's a really good film. Is Gladiator 2 a sequel to his 2000 film going to get Ridley Scott his Oscar that he's never won? I felt really confident about that going into this award season, where I'm just like, you know what? If Gladiator 2 is of a quality, I think Ridley Scott might not be able to be ignored because he's 87. Like, the time to give him an Oscar is running out. The reality of it, as much as I love Gladiator 2, and you can see it in my review, like I gave the film 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like, I truly, truly loved what Gladiator 2 was doing. I just don't think enough people are really resonating with. Like, it certainly has a big box office appeal. Like, it's doing supposedly pretty well. Like, Napoleon was able to get in last year to, like, I think it got into production design. Like, could Ridley Scott get in for Gladiator 2? I'm not sure. I'm kind of leaning on putting him in the spoilers category. I would have loved to see him win an Oscar. I just don't know if Gladiator 2 makes sense for this to be his film. And if it's not Gladiator 2 and we look at the past 10 years, like it's just kind of the reality that I don't think Ridley Scott will win an Oscar for directing by the end of his career, which is a sad thing. Let's talk about another film that has a wide scope vision. And this comes from Warner Brothers. It is Denis Villeneuve, Dune Part 2, which let's just kind of go back to 2021, or I guess now 2022, technically, when the awards got announced, when Oscars got announced. What got announced? Or what didn't get announced, I should say. Denis was not on the list for Best Director for Dune. And there was some outrage on that. And that was kind of the much agreed upon snub of that here. And then Dune Part 2 came out and got better reviews. It was more financially successful and really just seen as the better film of the two by far. So it's like, are we really going to ignore Denis? And obviously, I've said it on this. I don't think Dune Part 2 is a masterpiece. I think it's a pretty flawed adaptation. And it's a film that I find professionally very brilliant. There's a distance from the director to how I consume the film that I struggled with. Like there was a coldness and meticulousness that I didn't necessarily appreciate in the craftsmanship. That all said, like, is Denis really not going to get in after the outrage? This is kind of the question of, is Dune Part 2 strong? Or is this movie, did it just come out too early? I'm not sure. I don't think it's a spoiler. Like, I don't think it's in the spoilers category. I think it's firmly in the race. And if I had to venture, I would say it's higher than Wicked. But it should be a lock, and it's not a lock. And that's something to make note of. Hey, I've been having a crazy thought. What if Mufasa the Lion King, directed by Barry Jenkins, is good? Like, just straight up, like, what if we haven't thought about this? I'm going to be seeing the movie for the press screening. I think it's the 15th of December. Maybe it's the 16th. And Barry Jenkins is a really good director. And he's taking the source material quite literally. Like, he is serious about adapting this and making it a Shakespeare. Now, here's the thing. If this movie was great, and they were like, this is one of the best movies of the year, and Barry Jenkins directed a masterpiece, Disney would be running that campaign right now. There'd be no question about it. So he's not obviously in the race. I wanted to bring this up because I'm like, what if Mufasa's good? So where do I put this? Is this the YouTubers say the darndest things? Because that's kind of what this category is right now. Could it be a head down professional? Because Barry Jenkins is somebody who just, he puts out good work. We all know what it is. I say the darndest things. I just wanted to throw that out there right now because I know no one has it on their radar. What if Mufasa is just good? Like, what if it is? You don't know. Let's talk about another movie that has a lot of question marks around this. And it's not a Mufasa situation where I'm like, this film has zero chances. Robert Eggers is directing Nosferatu, a beloved horror film, an important staple into movie history from the 1920s Germany. Robert Eggers is an incredible director. What if this is his breakthrough with the Academy? Somebody who's made quality films like The Witch, like The Lighthouse, like The Northman. And this is his mainstream success. And this movie is good. And I've heard this movie's great. I'm going to say something crazy right now. I think Nosferatu belongs in the spoilers category. I think there could be a future in like a month where a lot of us are just like, wait, is Nosferatu going to be in the best picture race? Like one of the 10? I don't think it's crazy, especially with a race like this where everything feels up in the air. Let's talk about a movie in Blitz. So Steve McQueen's Blitz, based on the World War II, the bombings of London. I saw this movie, I reviewed it, didn't like this movie. I think it's actually quite poor. It doesn't feel like Steve McQueen to me. It almost feels like Steve McQueen trying to make a Steven Spielberg film in the vein of like Empire of the Sun. And it just doesn't work. I don't think any of the performances are good. I think the direction is kind of hit or miss. Like I couldn't get myself to like this film. With that said, and also I should just note the reception has been very muted in the United States, much more positive international, especially in London. What if Blitz gets boosted by the International Academy? That's the theory. Is there so much love in there? And some people would say maybe this belongs more next in line, maybe even Locke. I don't see it with the film. Like, quite literally, I watched the film with my own two eyes. And I'm like, this film's not strong. I am going to say that there might be a case for rallying with the International Academy in this. Hey, remember some of the other darndest things that I said? Remember in February when I made a video where I did way too early Oscar contenders for 2025? It was like, what if Megalopolis is a masterpiece? And then we all saw Megalopolis, or actually, I think I saw Megalopolis and none of you guys went. Where were you all in the theater? I trooped through it. I went there. I experienced it. I enjoyed my time, even though the film's very messy. But yeah, I said it could, get a nomination. And you know what's even crazier? After seeing the movie in October, after I knew the movie tanked, I'm just like, yeah, but people like the way Spike Lee, the way Robert De Niro, like I was there for the pre-Q&A of the movie. The way other filmmakers talked about this movie I was like, damn, like there's a love for Francis Ford Coppola's vision here and the audacity that he is trying. Megalopolis is not in the race, though. I am putting it the highest that I will have. I'll just say it will be the highest I have for the YouTubers say the darndest things. Because there is a world where the branch is just like, this is one of our legends and we respect the vision. It won't happen, but it's more likely than anything else that will be in this category. You know what's not happening? And another film that I was like, hey, like he got the nomination in 2019 for Joker. What if Harley Quinn is amazingly portrayed by Lady Gaga? Like, what if Joker Folie Do, which is a movie that is a musical that looks, honestly, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, this movie looks better than the first Joker movie. What if this overachieves and, Todd Phillips is right back in the race? Well, we all saw Joker Folie Do, and we all know where this is staying. To quote Big Justice and AJ, is that their TikTok? Is it boom or doom? Is Joker Folie Do boom or doom? I'm going a big fat doom. Hey, I love this category. YouTubers say the darndest things because I've said some crazy things on this channel, and that's the reason you subscribe. I'm not holding anything back. I'm throwing all these predictions that I have in my head. Like, I don't care about sounding stupid. Like, anything that pops into my head, I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's theorize on it. And earlier this year, I'm like, hey, like Kevin Costner made Dances with Wolves. What if Horizon is a masterpiece? What if this is groundbreaking movie making, splitting it into multiple little movies? Like, what if this epic pays off? Hey, guess what Horizon didn't do? I like the movie. Didn't pay off. Higher than Joker, though. I want to talk about this next film because it's very important to me. It's still my favorite film of 2024. Maybe a little spoiler for my best of year list, unless something kicks it off. But my favorite film of 2024 is still Alex Garland's Civil War. I think that film's a masterpiece, and I think it's actually only gotten better with the past couple of weeks. There's this argument, is it apolitical? It's not. That was always a dumb argument. It's too little too late. I really wish that this movie got more of a push. I'm even curious if this movie had come out now instead of April, would we be talking about it differently? Maybe, but it's, again, too little too late. A24 has other films to campaign. Same with Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Another movie I quite liked and wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, but I thought George Miller did a really good job with it. this film underperformed, and it has far more special effects, and a lot more people had issues with the way how this film looked. It's, I'd actually probably say it's lower than Mufasa, so we're just going to throw it here. Like, it is the reality of what happened to it. Check it out. If you haven't seen it, Furiosa, good movie. So this is, I think this is everything that's YouTubers say the darnest things. I have 5 movies in here. Let's go to the first lock, which everyone knows it's Anora. After seeing this film, which I was hesitant to see, and for the first 30 minutes of the movie, I'm like, really? This is the film everyone's loving? And then the last hour and a half / 2 hours of the movie happened, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this movie's really damn good. Sean Baker is an incredible director, having given us films like Red Rocket, The Florida Project. Like, Anora's really special, and it's a really great movie, and it's definitely in the Best Picture race. And I would say right now, I think it is the most likely film to get a nomination for Best Director. I don't know if Sean Baker's going to win. I'm still like a little hesitant to say he's going to be the winner. But if I was just doing the percentage of like, hey, like, who is the best chance of getting it for sure? Like, who is the surest of sure things in Best Director? It's Sean Baker for Anora. Let's talk about another film that hails from the International Academy. This is coming from Brazil. It is I'm Still Here. The director of this film is Walter Sayes. I hope I pronounced that name correct. This is a film that, if you have been following Oscar punditry or just any of the communities, you are seeing that the country of Brazil is very passionate about this film. I haven't gotten the chance to see this film. Again, if you're the studio who's releasing I'm Still Here, give me a screen and I'll review. Like, I really want to review this movie, and I hope people subscribe to this channel to check out my video when I finally get to review this movie. This movie's only growing. I'm only hearing more about it in conversation. I don't know, and I think it would be a tough thing to overcome Steve McQueen, but I think it's in the race. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see this film maybe overperform based on the current trajectory of it. Maybe I'm too close to it because I read my YouTube comments and I see the fervor that it's getting on my small little channel. But it's not just on my small little channel. I'm seeing everyone who kind of covers this being more alert of I'm Still Here. This next film is definitely the most controversial movie I have on this list. Ali Abbasi directed a great biography this year in The Apprentice, and it's dead on arrival because of the past few weeks. The Academy is not going to embrace The Apprentice, and it's sad because Jeremy Strong is incredible. Sebastian Stan is incredible in this movie. I think Ali Abbasi is a really talented director and really directs a lean, mean film in The Apprentice. But it's too little too late due to everything going on in the country and the fact that no one wants to deal with a Donald Trump movie right now. And the Academy just doesn't want that right now. Like, just straight up, they're not going to want to deal with this. Talking about white nationalism, we got The Order, which is a film I'm excited to see. This comes from, I'm trying to remember the director's name, Justin Kurzel. Justin Kurzel, I believe. This film, for those who go to the Cinemark mystery movie night, from my understanding, yesterday's movie, I'm recording this on the 26th or the 25th, was The Order, and I've only heard really good things about this movie. It's, again, kind of described as a smaller movie, not really going to make a splash, but it is one of these movies that I'm hearing a lot of people are really respecting and admiring the work. I'm really excited to see this movie. Haven't seen it yet. Too little, too late as well. Let's talk about the most controversial film this year that is not named The Apprentice. It is Emilia Perez, which comes from director Jacques Audiard. I believe I pronounced the first name right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Audiard's Emilia Perez. This movie's very divisive. It seems like literally it's like 50-50. Some people really admire the ambition. Other people find it downright dreadful. I'm somewhere in the middle. I leaned positive, but I had my issues with it. And a lot of the issues, I like the ambition and I like the effort that RDR achieves in this film. And it really does create for a unique vision. The unique vision just wasn't really for me at all times. A few weeks ago, this was a lock. It's probably still a lock. I don't think Emilia Perez is going to drop as much as people say it is. I think there's a little bit of a social media overreaction happening here. I do think it is weaker, though, than maybe some people are willing to admit. I don't think it's a lock. Like, I think it is, but I don't. It's like in this category next in line, like the contenders, like it's there. And I think it's number one in this category. And it's probably a lock, but like, I don't know. Like, something's holding me back from saying that it's a lock of all locks. Let's talk about another film that I've been hearing a lot about. I found out that I will be seeing this movie. I think it's December 15th is when it comes to Sacramento. It is September 5th, directed by Tim Fellbaum. I don't know much about this movie besides the trailer that I saw before seeing. What was the movie that I saw that had this trailer in front of it? I think it was Wicked. I think Wicked had this trailer in front of it. Trailer looked great. This looks like Argo. This looks like a movie that I really appreciate of. This is the story. We're getting to the meat of it. And it's lean. It has its head down. Like, it kind of gives me Spotlight vibes. It's definitely more in line with Argo. And I love Argo. So, like, I'm looking forward to this movie. I don't feel the buzz for September 5th, however it's pronounced. And I know some people do. I know some people have this really high on their list. I just like, this movie's coming out soon and like people are generally liking it. Some people are even loving it. I'm not feeling it right now. So I think it's too little too late, but it might be the highest one. Here, let me put it above The Apprentice. It's the highest one of this too little too late. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it in the head down professionals, and we'll see more of this in this category, but I'm going to switch this. This is the workhorse directors that the Academy can respect. Let's talk about a film in a real pain, which originally, a few months ago, I was like, I don't even know if Culkin will get the nomination. Like, this might be a screenplay and that's about it. I'm not sure if the Culkin thing is actually real. Culkin thing's real. I think he's going to get the nomination. I heard Fennessy say on The Big Picture that he even thinks that this might be the front runner. I wouldn't go that far yet, but I think this is a real thing. And I'm now starting to wonder, because I now have a real pain in my best picture. And I have Culkin in best supporting actor. And I have this film, maybe even if any film was to upset Anora for best original screenplay, I wouldn't be shocked that if it's a real pain. I am putting this in the spoiler category. I think it's higher than Nosferatu, just because I don't know what Nosferatu is, and I know that a real pain is in the conversation right now. I think there's a future where Eisenberg could get a director. I don't think it's likely, but I wouldn't be the most shocked to hear it. What's the next film I have on here? Oh, A Complete Unknown, James Mangold. And just FYI, you probably all know what the category is going to be. It's the head down professionals. The category is almost named after individuals like Clint Eastwood, like James Mangold. The guys who are workhorses. These are the guys who are the apprentices of Hollywood. Like, these are the guys that are just like, this is their bread and butter. They make movies. This is their job. And it's not always flashy, but it always usually gets the job done. And that's James Mangold's filmography. They're good movies. There's usually, in many cases, great movies. But they're not necessarily flashy movies. People wouldn't be able to see James Mangold walking down the street and be like, that's James Mangold. Like, I know him. Or if I was like, oh yeah, like Ford versus Ferrari, a great movie. Who directed that? I don't know how many people would be able to just say James Mangold, even if they love that film. A Complete Unknown, Chalamet. I'm so wanting to see this movie. My prediction is this is the mystery movie for Cinemark on, I think it's the 9th. It's Monday the 9th, I think. This is my prediction. R-rated movie. I think it's either September 5 or it is A Complete Unknown. And I'm going to this just in the hope that it's A Complete Unknown. Otherwise, it comes out Christmas. I still think this is only really a Chalamet play. I think it's a best actor for Chalamet, maybe a few other nominations below the line, but maybe a best picture. I'm not really feeling it in director. I could be wrong, though. And I think this film is starting to build up a little bit of momentum as early critics have seen it, and the buzz seems to be positive. Let's talk about this next film, Nickel Boys, which comes from Ramel Ross. I don't know what it is about this movie. I'm kind of high on it. Like, as a film that I haven't seen yet, that I'm not exactly sure how it's going to perform, I think there's a lot to like in its favor. One, I've heard the direction's very noticeable in the film. Like, this has a very unique visual language that Ramel Ross is working with in this movie, and people are going to really respond to that, or they're not going to. But it seems like this might be a film that other directors might respond to well. And I keep bringing up American Fiction as the comp, not because of the subject matter or anything like that, just simply the idea of this is a movie that has a similar strategy where it's kind of opening small in December, going to gently expand. I think this is also a possibility of one of the Cinemark secret movies. Like, that's what American Fiction was. I got to see American Fiction, I think 2 weeks really before it hit wide. And that allowed it to build some buzz with audiences who got to see it. And then as the film gets on, like, it gets a little bit wider, people really start talking about it. I kind of have been thinking that might be a similar thing with Nickel Boys. I actually think it's in the next in line, which my beloved Ridley Scott, he's just fallen. Like, it's really bumming me out. The Substance. Courtlai Farge, I believe is how you pronounce this director's name. This is the one I want that to happen the most. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I would love to say that there's female representation at this year's Academy Awards, and it's because of Farge for The Substance. I don't think that is going to be the case. And this is kind of weird because I don't have a great category for this. So I'm going to be ending up putting them in the spoilers probably. This is one of the most fun experiences I've had in a movie this year. And a lot of it is to do with the direction, which I think Farge has a great handle on in this movie. It is masterful control of tone. And that comes from a screenplay, and that comes from a director who knows just the right amount to push it. And the way they are able to bring a real life experience that many women face and fuse it with this David Cronenberg body horror is just awe-inspiring. This is, like I said, I'm going to put it above. Actually, I'm going to put it above A Real Pain here in the spoilers category. I would love this to happen. I just don't know if it's going to happen. And now we have another director that I'm pretty favorable on generally, and that is Luca Guadagnino for his films, 2 films this year. One of them being Queer, which I haven't gotten the chance to see, and then Challengers, which came out in April. I think there is an argument to make with such a weak race. Had Challengers come out in November and not April, this film could be maybe getting a little bit more talked about. I think it's just kind of too little too late. And I honestly kind of think that's the same with Queer. I'm putting Queer above it, but the divisiveness that I'm hearing about this movie, I've heard this movie's just long and messy, and some people are going to like that. And I think the Daniel Craig performance is certainly more at the forefront of the Oscars discussion than anything Challengers has going on right now, besides maybe best score. I don't know. I'm really excited to see Queer, William S. Burroughs' novel being adapted by Luca Guadagnino, starring Daniel Craig. Like, this is one of my most eagerly anticipated movies of this year, just because of how much I love Luca's work and how good of a director he is of palpable sexual tension in movies. Let's talk about this next movie coming from Mike Lee. It is Hard Truths. This is also kind of just unfortunately the case of Too Little Too Late. This is one of those movies that I'm just like, when am I going to get the chance to see it? And obviously, I'm not the be all end all, but I do usually get to see these movies a little bit earlier. And usually you start getting hints or ideas of when it's going to start screening to more general press, and it's not really happening. So this might be one of those weird ones that I either get as a screener or it just never comes to Sacramento. I kind of just think it's too little too late. I'm going to put it like right between the two Luca films. Let's talk about this next film, which I don't know what to do with. Is The Room Next Door, which is directed by Pedro Almodovar. Pedro Almodovar. I think I got it right that last time. This is his first English film. And as I've kind of said on this channel, the reviews generally kind of say that this movie is lost to translation. I'm excited enough to see this movie. I will be seeing this movie, I think, the first week of December, I think, is when it's coming to Sacramento. So I'll be able to report back on it. Again, subscribe to this channel for that review when it eventually comes out. The Academy certainly likes Pedro. And, you know, we talk about this international branch of the Academy that can really bolster filmmakers. And I kind of think Pedro could be that case this year. So I'm putting Pedro next in line, and I have him kind of fourth in this category. I don't think this nomination could happen, but it could, and that's kind of the point. He might even be above Jean M. Chu. I'm not positive. Let's talk about another film that I saw and reviewed this week, and it is The Piano Lesson, coming from Malcolm Washington. There is elements to really like about this direction, and I think Malcolm is actually a fairly talented director. I just don't think it's realistic this year. You can subscribe to my channels to see more about my reviews. Ultimately, I think this movie is fine, but not strong enough to really justify it. I'm going to put it right above Hard Truths. Actually, I'll put it the highest of Too Little Too Late. I will say this about Malcolm Washington's vision of The Piano Lesson. I think it is inherently cinematic, and I'd like to see what he does next. I just think adapting this source material was probably a bit too ambitious for a first-time director as he is in The Piano Lesson. Let's talk about, so what we have left is All We Imagine Is Light, Saturday Night, Seed of Sacred Fig, Juror Number 2, Conclave, and The Brutalists. Two of those films being really big ones that we have neglected to talk about. Let's talk about the next international film, All We Imagine Is Light, which comes from Payo Kapadia, I believe is how you pronounce the name. I probably have the first name incorrect, so apologies. I forgot to search the pronunciation of it before this video. Heard good things about this movie, heard it's really good. I think this is also going to be the case of it's probably going to be an international feature. And I just kind of think I'm getting more buzz around I'm Still Here. But I'm excited to see this film. I'll be seeing it, I think, first week of December as well. Saturday Night, I like this movie. Not much to talk about. Too little, too late at this point. Oh, I'll put it above. No, I'll keep it last in Too Little, Too Late. Seed of a Sacred Fig. This comes from Mohammed Rasaluf. I believe, is this the German entry? I believe this is an Iranian story, or maybe it's a Pakistani story coming from a German distribution, I believe, or something like that. I'm a little confused on it. I've heard mixed things about this movie, and this one is one that I don't know when it is going to come out. And it kind of seems to be, of the films, I'm hearing far more praise to I'm Still Here and All We Imagine Is Light. So I'll be able to comment on this one as the weeks go on, but as of right now, can't really report much on the Seed of a Sacred Fig. Leaves us with three directors in Clint Eastwood, Edward Berger, and then Brady Corbett. So let's talk about Clint real quick. The definition of the head down professional. So this is a shame. Clint Eastwood should be getting an honest, genuine campaign for him for Juror Number 2, which is a great film. Warner Brothers screwed him. He's 94 years old. He's made you so many films. I get that there's some controversy around him. I think there's like some messiness with his family / kids. Like, I get that, like, maybe Clint didn't want this. This is the case that this is a good film and it didn't deserve to get only like 35 screens domestically. He is the definition of head down professional. I wish they gave him a real campaign. It's kind of a pity that this is his probably last film, and this is the way that they treated it. It bums me out. That leaves us on a happier note with the two last films. So let's just kind of, before we get to Conclave and the Brutalist, let's just kind of notice something right now. Currently, I have one lock with 2 films left, and I have 5 films in next in line, and I have 4 films as spoilers. And I think there is the International Academy that I think all of those are also contenders. And honestly, the head down professionals, if a complete unknown, like I said, if September 5 jumped up, like, I don't know, like, this is a weird year for best director. We'll talk about what I think will happen. Let's talk about Conclave, a movie that I like, that I reviewed on this channel. And there's certainly some luscious filmmaking in here. I don't know if I thought Berger had a good handle on this movie. There's elements of this movie that I liked, and he's really good at staging and he's really good at craftsmanship. I don't know if he had a handle on the story, though. It definitely gets away with him. It definitely gets away from him, I should say, in the final act. He was so beloved for All Quiet in the Western Front that, I mean, I think some people even thought he could win it that year. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I think he's currently in the next in line category and battling for that 5th, 6th spot. Which brings us to the last film, The Brutalist, which comes from Brady Corbett. No clue when I'm going to see this film. I want A24, if you're listening, please send me a screener. Please set up a screening in Sacramento. Whatever you need to do. Like, I need to see this movie, and I want to see this movie so badly before I do my best of the year list. This movie sounds so up my alley. Adrian Brody, Guy Pearce, Felicity Jones. This film is so critically beloved, and it seems to be largely, it's a 3.5 hour epic from Corbett. I just think it's a lock. Like, everything that I'm hearing about this film, I think it's a really safe lock. And it's the only other film that I feel positive, because I'm so not sure about Emilia Perez. So for reviewing this, I have Anora as my number 1 lock, and I have The Brutalist as my number 2. And there's 3 slots remaining, which currently I am composing this of Emilia Perez, Dune Part 2, Conclave. So that's 5. But I think films with legitimate chances still. And I'm going to say these are films that I still think have a good shot. Something like Nosferatu is just too much of a mystery for me to say it has a good shot. I think Wicked has a great shot. I think The Room Next Door has a shot. I think Nickel Boys has a shot. It wouldn't shock me if Ridley Scott does get in. Farge is the one that I'm rooting the most for. I don't think Eisenberg's likely. I don't think Eggers is likely. I think Blitz could be. I think Steve McQueen could be. And I think someone like, in terms of international, I would say that Sayes is the least or the most likely of something that probably won't happen. But then, like, even if we jump back down, like, if a complete unknown is great, like, does that have a shot? Does September 5 have a shot? Like, this is where it just all gets so confusing. Like, just listing the movies I just mentioned: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 that I think could be in contention with only true locks, and a weak Emilia Perez that seems to be possibly dropping. And how much am I overrating Wicked, or how much am I underrating Wicked at this point? Like, I don't know. This is a bizarre one. As of November 26th, I am going to say Anora, The Brutalist, Emilia Perez, Dune Part 2, and Conclave are my top 5. And to win it, I think I will go. God, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel solidly about any of them winning it. I'll go Sean Baker for Nora, just because that seems to be the strongest reception. And I'm still curious to see how audiences do with The Brutalist. So let's cut back to me real quick. Thank you all for going on this journey with me. Happy late Thanksgiving. Thank you. And again, guys, this is the hugest thing. Just real quick, my call to action. If you're still watching, or if you've been watching at all, the biggest thing that you can do to help me grow and for me to see these movies early and get the chance to review them for you guys, subscribe to my channel, leave it a comment, give a like all that engagement makes it more known that the studios should treat me as a legitimate enough film critic, which I'm lucky to get to say that has been something that I've been far more able to capitalize and use this year to get you guys reviews early. And I'm so thankful for your guys' support. So please just continue supporting me. If you haven't subscribed yet, do me a huge favor, and it really does help me out. So thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye-bye. And we'll be back next week. I don't know which category we're doing. I think maybe we should do screenplay because we haven't talked about it yet. So thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.